So how you doing? What?
Good, Jose. Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. It's always been sort of like my bucket list to come and sit down here and have just have a conversation. So thank you for having me.
Man, this is the first time that actually I think we've talked like directly, because I've seen you with Mason. I saw you that one time at Pizza Ranch, I think with Mason.
Yep.
Saw you one time. He invited us to Resilient and you greeted us. And yeah, I'm like, I can't believe this is the first time that we like just talk.
Yeah, I agree. I think we met a couple of years ago in the hackathon flower farm, and I always thought you were cool. I always thought you are interesting, and once I found out that you're doing a podcast, I think it definitely has shifted sort of like my perspective to you as a little bit as a person, but also like the thing that you do is great in terms of like how you reach the people, how you reach the community. So I'm very happy that we have the opportunity to learn a little bit about each other today too.
It's been fun. Like we were just talking about it too. Like I get to now like, I was saying like now, because before I would tell people, I wish I got paid. And now I do. For the month, we're recording this is December. So this might take like a few weeks in January. So, but if I am still getting sponsored, I'll put the video right now. But it's been fun. I get to learn just so many different people. I guess those connections where people say. But it's been fun, especially like now doing 1 minute clips, because I'm like, hey, well, not everyone's going to watch an hour long. Let me get those minute clips. And then like I was telling you before, I was like, hey, maybe I should just try to get all those, also that 4 minute clip, because it doesn't fit in that 1 minute. So I'm going to try that out. But it's been cool. Like, everyone, like Brenda, and I'm trying to get her on. She's the one that also gives me these ideas. She's the one that tells me everyone has a story.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's why I got you here. Because Mason told me, he said, hey, get Lar because he's amazing. But before that, what do you do?
So currently I'm currently a graduate student here at the University of South Dakota. I am currently in the school psychology program, and I was aware that my program director was previously on here, and she get to share a lot of the cool thing about what the school psychology is all about. So I'm not going to go into like the detail in terms of that, but currently I'm a student. I am also a graduate assistant at the TRIO program, where we get to serve students with like disability, low income, and then as far as like the first generation college students. Outside of that, I'm heavily involved with the Resilient Church. I'm on the guest services team. It's just been a fun journey to have a little team that I serve with, that I kind of oversee, and then we greet people every Sunday or every other Sunday. So it's just been a blessing. As far as that, like as far as like my hobby goes, I love to golf. I don't know if Mason told you this. I've been golfing about like 3-4 days a week over this summer. So it has been some of my hobbies that I do. But I also love thrifting over at
cool.
CC Boutique with where Martha is at with Jerry. So it's just been a great place to be a Vermillion.
Sweet.
But as far as like what I do, I'm currently a student and a graduate assistant. I think that's what I like to say.
Do you guys know someone named Taylor Digman? He also goes to Hillside, but he's also a golfer. He was my second episode. That's where like I started wondering, or that's when I started like saying, whoa, these people are interesting, because so he's in our community group.
Yeah.
He's a law student, but he's also, I think if I get it right, professional or semi-pro golfer.
Wow.
Something like that. He's also a pilot.
That's really, really cool.
He has I don't know if he still has it, but a little company with lotion and all that. But that's what I was wondering, if you guys knew him from the golfing.
No, I'm not quite at that level yet. Maybe someday I'll get there, but for now, I think it just become one of those hobbies that I picked up that has really taken up a lot of my time. But it's interesting, because the thing about golf is that you get to learn so much about yourself, but the golf community itself is very fun. The people you meet through golf are fun. So I wish when you get a time this summer, maybe you and I could get together for a little golf session.
I want to try that. I've never been golfing, only mini golf.
Let me take you out then. We'll make sure to do that next summer.
Okay. When I was younger, my dad bought these golf clubs from a garage sale, and he said, one day we'll go golfing. That never happened. He also told me we'll go fishing. I'm still waiting on that. But with the golf clubs, I could never practice with them because I'm left-handed.
Oh, so that's going to be a challenge then.
But see, this is, This is where I'm weird.
Okay.
So I'm left-handed. Like if I grab, like for example, a baseball bat, I'm left-handed. But like I throw with my right hand. I write with my right hand, but I eat with my left hand.
Okay, that's
So,
interesting.
I'm weird. I don't know what it is.
I don't know. I think that's unique because, like, does that mean like both like side of your brain works like at the same time, or like
I don't know.
Because they say sometimes your brain will only like work partially, but I think that for you maybe it does work both. I don't know.
I don't know. One thing that have you heard that? I remember this when I took this biology course at my community college. When they say if you're a visual learner or audio learner, something like that. This guy, my professor, I forgot his name, but he's Japanese. He made us take this test. And then it'll tell you if you're, on one of those, if you're audio, visual, whatever you call it.
Right.
And I remember he gave me the results. And he told me, hey, this is unique. It doesn't mean I'm special or anything. He just said it's not too common.
Yeah.
But he said there's another category called kinetic learner. I guess what people, if I get this right, is that, people can learn by visual or audio, but people can learn just by doing it. And I think it makes sense a little bit because, so I feel like, man, those people that are just talented, they're just amazing at whatever they start.
Yeah.
That's not me. Yeah. I feel like I have to like learn it. Yeah. I remember like same thing in school. I was always wondering like, man, why are these people so smart? And then I figured out, I just got to practice and study. Yeah. And then it happened. I'm not bragging. I just, on one of my classes, this is that. Same thing with sports. I have to like practice to do it. Yeah. Same thing with this, like the editing and all that. I'm like, I got to, if you just do it, you got it.
Yeah.
Same thing with the cooking. Like I never know how to cook, but the practice. It's just one of those weird things. Yeah. Yeah. You kind of feel me, right?
I think some people are just naturally like good at things. Like you tell them what it is and then they could just pick it up and then do it. But I think I could relate to you. I have always been someone growing up that I have to put in like large amount of effort to something in order to be good at it, whether that in like school, life, like just whatever it is. Like I feel like I always have to put more effort compared to my peers. It's not that like I was like adequate to do things, but it just taking me more effort. So I could relate to you on that. But I also want to ask, like, are you a bilingual?
Yeah, I'm bilingual.
Like, what is that? Because for me, I'll tell you a little bit about that too. But for me, it has always been interesting to learn how different languages adapt to the English language. So for you, what is like that experience like? Kind of like code switching between English, Spanish, or vice versa. Yeah, what was that like for you? I'm
for me, if I remember right, and I tell this to people sometimes. So I grew up. So my parents, they're both from Mexico. My dad came over when I think first or third grade, but he speaks English perfect and he speaks the Spanish perfect. My mom came over, I think when she was 20 or 21. She speaks Spanish. Her English is kind of that. She has that accent. But if I remember right, my first language was Spanish. That's what we talked. But then I picked up the English from just school. Yeah. My dad talked to me in English, but then I forgot the language a little. You can understand it. Yeah. But that speaking it until like the middle school, it's because there wasn't too many in my school, a lot of people that spoke Spanish. Middle school, that's when it popped up. And then you had like this group that talked Spanish. So I started getting more involved. High school, when I met Myra, online, that's when I started talking more. Sure. Then I could learn how to kind of read and write it. But one thing, because people ask, they're like, what's it like? Like, is it that hard? I said, for me, I think of it like a synonym. It's just different words for different meanings. Because I could go back and forth. Same thing, Victoria. Right. Funny thing is, Victoria, she spoke only Spanish. We speak Spanish at the house. And then for some reason, I started doing the same thing. My dad talking English and Spanish. Now she won't talk Spanish. She's talking English to both of us. Oh my gosh. But then like if she has someone over, she'll only speak Spanish to us. So it's a weird thing. But I relate just exactly. That's how I was when I was a kid. I don't know why. But for me, it's just different words. Myra says no, because she says it's not like it. She said she spoke up Spanish, or she grew up speaking Spanish. She just started talking English, I'm going to say like 4 or 5 years ago. Really? Yeah. And then when she got this job at USD, that's when she started picking it up and just talking to people. But she says it's completely different. Yeah. I'm like, really? She says, yeah. She said it doesn't translate well. She has
Yeah.
to kind of translate it. For me, it's not. It's just different words.
Right.
What about you?
Could that be because I'm curious? Could that be because maybe she doesn't have that like early onset experiences compared to you? Maybe for you it's easier to code switch. Maybe compared to her, just a little bit. I don't know. Maybe just take a little bit longer.
It's probably that. It's
Yeah.
probably because same thing. You know how like kids they just pick up a language
Yeah,
real
they
quick.
do.
I think it's probably that because
Yeah.
even like learning a language, one of them I tried learning in high school was sign language, and same thing. It is a language, but you just can't pick it up. You got to
Right.
kind of translate it. So maybe it's the same with Myra.
Right.
You know, she just got to keep translating. But for me, like I could just. I don't know. I could switch back and forth like
Right.
that. And then people say, do you think or dream in English, Spanish? I'm like, I guess both. I don't know. Cause like,
So
for
that was a
example,
good question.
yeah, like if like my parents are here, it's weird. I just don't know why. They're both here. And like, we'll have a conversation, all of us. I'll just speak English to my dad, Spanish to my mom. But I'll go back and forth.
Right.
It's a weird thing.
Like the fact that you're able to code switch like immediately, it's interesting. Because I have been working as an interpreter for the past 3-4 years, a professional interpreter, and some of the things I have learned is that the older generation of interpreter, the way they interpret is so different to how we do it. You know, like
tell me.
like for us, we're able to like if you were to say something, like I will more so like interpret it in a way so that folks could understand them, like the people could understand them, right? I don't have to like interpret them literally, but I see that in the older generation, they tend to interpret it as the people say. So, and I see like sometimes that could be a barrier because some of these parents, some of these students, they don't really understand some of those, you know, nuances that like, you know, like we have in this culture. So in some cases, I see that some of the parents struggle to, you know, kind of communicate with a certain interpreter in the school. I think just solely because the way they understand the language is so different from our generation, which I thought was very unique. Like I have always, like my parents, they have always sort of learned to understand, you know, like that type of interpreter, but now like us, a newer generation, it's a little bit of a shift for them. And there are some cases where, you know, parents don't necessarily understand what we're trying to communicate with it either because of that language is like, I don't know, like the definition of certain terms. So I thought that was very unique.
Do you think when you interpret, do you also like put in that, what do you call it, slang or like newer stuff or?
Yeah, like you have to kind of sometimes cut to the point, like so that parent can understand you because English is a complex language. I've been telling people that it is a hard language for the older generation. Like for my parents, it's so hard for them to understand it. I remember when they were trying to, when they were studying for the neutralization test, for the citizenship test, like my mom will memorize every little detail as she could. And then whereas for us, I was like, oh, we know what that is because we're able to understand what the, you know, the terms are, but for that, they have to like memorize it so that it stick to their brain. So then when they like see the visual, when they like hear the word, they're like, oh, this is what it meant. So like they make that association right away. But for us, it's a little bit different how we learn English between me and my parents.
Probably, but also, yeah, since, you know, if you grow up with it, you kind of get implemented with the culture. Still, if you're a younger age, you know, it's Myra says the same thing, that it's hard. Like, for example, there, and there, like there's different ways, or our or stuff like that. And she's like, why is this silent or this? And I'm like, I don't know. And then I'm like, yeah, because also, in Spanish, like how you write it and pronounce it, or how you write it is exactly how you pronounce it. I haven't seen like sign letters or the O doesn't change from this.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a or if it's after or before a letter. I haven't seen it like that. So you could literally just like, if you can learn the pronunciations, you could kind of read it.
Yeah.
But see, with English, there's like a silent, or like if this has this, it changes the whatever. I don't know.
I don't know either. But I do admire those who are learning the languages, who are like maybe in the process of learning it. Because it is hard, but it's a process. But I see like for the kids, it's such a easy and smooth transition for them. Yeah, I think just for kids, they naturally just learn better. Like Victoria, she's so bright, she's so smart. I think for her, it's easy to integrate herself. But I think that also like brought me to the point of sometime for us to be good at something, I think we had to feel like we belong in the space, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like my parents, it's a challenge because like my dad in particular, he doesn't feel like he belong in this sort of space. He still feel like a foreign. So he's not really like motivated to learn the language as much as me and my sister does. So I think that could be like another barrier too. Like, when you do feel belong, you tend to be more motivated. You tend to like wanted to learn. I think because look at those kids, look at Victoria, for instance, like she is belong. The spaces you go to, she know the people. So it's easier to learn. I think from my parents, if they don't have that support system,
True.
like, they're not really motivated in a sense.
I think you're right. My mom she really wants to learn it. She understands it. But she always, every day she tells me, like when she calls me, she says that she regrets not learning how to like read and write it. And she thinks it's too late. I'm like, no, you can still keep going. But she's like wondering, should I take classes? This and I'm like, no, you just kind of, I don't know if I'm the expert, but I'm like, sometimes you just gotta, just be there and like do it.
Yeah.
Because it's different. One thing that Myra told me when she was learning it, so in Mexico at her university, English is required. She said she had this, I thought, I was like, oh, it's required. Even like, I guess in high school, but still they don't speak English that great. But she said she had a professor that would not talk Spanish. It was only English. And that's how you learn it. You just gotta, you're involved in it. Because if you have like, it's the same. Like if people take like, for example, a Spanish class or a high school Spanish class, they still don't know it.
Yeah.
It's because you got to get involved.
You got to get involved.
Yeah. Because it's different like reading and studying versus you having a conversation.
That's a great point though. I think like that kind of also let me relate to sometimes to learn, you got to integrate yourself into those spaces. Yeah. Like maybe for my parents too, maybe the best way for them to learn is to put them in maybe a town where like they don't really know anybody. Not that I would do that, but that's probably like will kind of force them to open themselves. I mean, maybe like a lot that to really put themselves out there and I communicate with other. But nevertheless, I am very grateful. I'm very appreciative that my parents had brought me to this country because they have sacrificed everything they have so that me and my sister could be in this country. So I think regardless of where their language levels are, efficiencies are, it no longer become a concern to me because I think that ultimately they did it for me and my sister.
What brought you here?
Yeah, great question. So if we could track back a little bit, I was born in Burma, or currently known as Myanmar. I don't know if you know where that is.
What part?
It's in Southeast Asia. You know where Thailand,
Laos,
Vietnam.
Cambodia.
Yep. So is right next to Thailand. So within Myanmar, there is so many sub-ethnic group that made out the country. So all have different languages, costume, and culture. Why not? So that's what I was born. And then in about 2006 or so, my family and I, so it was me, my mom, and my dad, we flee to Thailand refugee camp. So we settled in the camp for about another 6 years or 7 years or so. And then in 2013, my parent has decided to come here and settle as a refugee. In terms of what kind of drew them to come here is still a little bit unknown because my dad doesn't want to come here. He still want to go back to his home country. It's been a little bit challenging now that we're a little bit older because we want him to stay here because I've always been a firm believer that this is one of the best countries in the world, and but for him, he doesn't really like it here. For some reason, I don't know why, but my mom loved it. So I think in the long run, my mom will stay. But as far as that, we initially settled down in Twin City, in St. Paul, Minnesota. We came, so it was me, my mom, and my sister, and my dad. So it was 4 of us who came to Twin City. And we had some relatives there, but that's where we initially settled on. And I was about 12 years old or so when I came here, and we didn't have any English prior to coming here, so it's a little bit of a challenge to kind of navigating the system itself. That's why I say if people are like coming here at a later age, I do admire and I respect whatever they're navigating, because it's a different world to navigate, whether the language, the culture, the finances, whatever that looks like. So, and then so I was in Twin City for about 2.5 years or so. And then in 2015, my mom and my dad have decided to move to Marshall, Minnesota. So it's a little bit smaller town, about 11,000 people. It's about, where Brooklyn, South Dakota is?
Yeah.
It's about an hour away from Brooklyn, about east of Brooklyn, about 2.5, 3 hours from here. So that's where we ended up settling down. And that's where I've been living for the past 3-4 years prior to me graduating. And then in 2019, I graduated high school. And then I went to community college for a year. That was a cool experience. I think we could go into that a little bit more. And then I ended up transferring to SDSU in 2020, right at COVID year. As you can tell, man, it was a crazy transition.
Everything
and then in 22, I graduated college, and then here I am in Vermillion. So it's a little bit of a journey how I kind of discovered Vermillion. I don't think it was by accident, but I solely believe that it was based off on God's plan and everything that He has prepared for me. So that's kind of how I come and learn about Vermillion. A little bit like in a summary.
How are you liking it?
I love Vermillion.
Is it different than, we'll just talk about a little bit. Is it different than Brookings? Or kind of?
Yes, I would say so. I was, in Brooklyn, I was an undergrad. So I was, as involved with the community as much as I am now. And it's not that I don't appreciate the experience I had in there. But as you know, between high school and early college, you don't really appreciate the world as a whole.
True.
You more so appreciate the fun, the experiences, a sense of belonging. If that makes sense. Like, I care more about going out, party, go to the games, that's what I care about at that time. And maybe obviously partially of it is my academic, but I don't think that I appreciate that as much as I did now that I'm in graduate schools, which is a crazy shift. Within 3 years, I was able to pretty much change my whole life, my whole perspective life. Now that I'm in graduate school. It's crazy, but I like that. I love Brooklyn. As far as the town goes, that's a lot to do up there. It's a college town, so you have your nightlife, your foods, your restaurant, and then they have a bowling alley, which I wish we have one still here.
Everyone says that.
I know.
Maybe one day.
But as far as the experiences, I think it's where I met some of my best friends early on. I was a transfer student at the time. So it's really cool. I got to meet some of my fraternity brother that I'm still close to today. We still communicate on regular. But I think in terms of how the experience has shaped me as a person, it really has developed me to be where I'm at today. If it wasn't for the experiences I have in Brooklyn, I don't think I would be in Vermillion today. So all God's plan, if that makes sense. So it was interesting because I was initially a nursing major.
Really?
I was a nursing major, yeah. So
why switch?
All right, let me go into that a little bit.
Yeah.
So I was working in a nursing home prior to me going to nursing school when I was 16 years old. Actually, when I was 15, I started to volunteer at the local nursing home. So I help out with the bingo night. I help out with, dinner, kind of put the plates away, whatnot. And then when I was 16, I took my CNA, and then I started working as a CNA at their local nursing home in Marshall. And there, I think if it wasn't for that experience, I wouldn't be the person I am today. There, I have worked with some of the best people that I work with in my life. Some of the people who were, who were very patient. But for me, I think it was a resident that I work with. It was the people who are in their last stage of life that I get to care for, that really make me value life I have now. Even as simple as this type of conversation, I'm grateful for everything I have in life, because working with it has allowed me to appreciate the thing that I get to go through every day. I feel like for any of them, they will switch the spot that they're in with wherever I'm at. Doesn't matter how bad it is, they will switch that spot so that they could experience that again. But for many of them, it's the last stage of their life. They have come to accept their circumstances, and it's sad. It's sad that they appreciate the care that we offer, but I think for many of them, they know that this is the last stage that they have.
Do you ever
experience? Yeah,
man. I'm gonna say this year, I started thinking about how life is for me now. It's going by quick.
Yeah.
Like I remember, when you're younger, you're just waiting, oh man, I hope next week comes, hope the weekend comes, or break, or this and that. But now that I have a family, marriage, and this and that, like I check, I'm like, whoa, the month already passed, the year already passed. I'm like, this is going quick. But I'm like, hey, this is a little scary too.
Yeah.
Well, you know what surprised me? So over the summer, there was a family emergency. So I went and I saw my cousins, and then I went back for Thanksgiving. So my cousins they're a little more older than me. They're in their 30s. Some are in mid 20s, but they still look the same. Mm-hmm. Some are a little more chubby, but they all look the same. But their kids, when I was, in high school and college, their kids were, they're like Victoria's age.
Yeah.
And when I saw them, man, they're in middle school, one's in high school. And then it blew. I was like, whoa, y'all guys are like older.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary because I feel the same, but they're just older. And I'm like, that's crazy. I'm like, I swear, I'm like, just last year, I can remember, I'm like, but I saw you guys just last year. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
This was like, I saw them like 4 or 5 years ago. I'm like, whoa, it's trippy.
It is. It's a lot that can change. Earlier, we were just talking about Victoria Hall. When I first met her, she was a little bit younger, but then within 2 years, she was able to grow so much. I mean, almost as tall as you now. But I thought that's interesting because, I don't know. I mean, life itself is interesting because I think when we don't slow down and appreciate the experiences, I think it kind of fly by very, very fast. Like this final week somehow has been flying by so fast because I was so focused on getting things done, but I don't appreciate like the study, like writing a report. I didn't really take time to appreciate those things. So now that like we're talking about it, I was like, okay, maybe I need to shift that mindset a little bit, maybe learn how to enjoy the thing that I don't like so that I could appreciate things where, they're still here. Because maybe 10 years down the road, maybe I might think, oh man, I wish I would have, like appreciate that time when I was struggling in my final exam a little bit more because how else am I going to be grateful if I don't appreciate those struggles itself? But I mean, like back to what you were saying though, you're right. It does fly by fast. As soon as I hit like 20, I feel like the last 2 years, I don't remember exactly what was happening because it flew by.
Oh man, just wait till, because I'm 29, so I'm gonna hit 30, and I swear, like I remember I just left high school, and I'm like, man, it's already been like almost 18, like what, 11, 12 years or something like that. I'm like, whoa, that thing is fast.
By, yeah.
Either that or I haven't like changed, because I've seen some people, like it'd be family or like friends, like some have, same thing, got skinnier, got fatter, stronger, maybe they got to change their face, beard. And I looked at the pictures, I still look the same. I still have the same haircut. I'll have it like this, and later I'll just shorten it. I dress, I think, the same. I look the same. So maybe it's just me, but it's trippy.
I'm here on Authentic Jose here. I do have a question for you though. Since we're talking about our parents earlier.
Sure.
What has been some of the things you learn about yourself being a husband and a father that you weren't really like expecting when you were in your 20s, early 20s or early teens? Like what was something that you're like, wow, I learned a lot about myself. This is who I am now.
So for me, man, I feel like now, I feel like back then I was selfish, like very selfish, because after getting married, so with people, marriage is way harder than I thought, but I love it.
Yeah.
I hate it and I love it at the same time. It's one of those like, but like, cause before, if it's just you or living with your parents, it's just, oh, me, this. But same thing, it's not like, oh, I want to, it's just, man, it's hard to explain, but like, for example, with a family, I gotta listen to Victoria, Myra, also know what they want. Sometimes we don't agree. And then, but for overall, I feel like now something that I've realized is I am wrong. I'm gonna say 90% of the time. And that's something like, you gotta be like, man, you know what? What about like my spouse? What is she thinking? Maybe she's right on this stuff, or maybe Victoria's right on this stuff, or just listening. Like, I feel like I've never listened or be more, because I thought I was open-minded and I'm not, but just like listening and that selfishness. I swear, I think I look back on it, I'm like, man, I feel like I was a selfish person.
Yeah.
I might not realize it, but also being married, being like the husband is very stressful.
Yeah.
Because, you have a kid and a wife, and you're trying to give them everything, but not also everything. But also, like, if there's a problem, you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
But then also you got to work with your wife. And it's one of those, it's not like living with roommates or like a friend, because it's not, or like even like if it's your girlfriend. Because before, maybe if you have like a discussion, oh, well, I'm out. Let me go, I don't know, to the other room, or let me go back home. This one is like, no, it's different.
Yeah.
And that's what's on my mind.
Yeah.
But it's a different experience. I don't know. It's not because when I was younger, this is how I thought. I thought after, you go to school or after getting a degree, you get that job where you get paid a lot. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
You get married and everything's happy.
Yeah.
But it's not like that. There's always bumps in the roads, especially the job part. Like I thought, and it's not like, I want to say, maybe it is my fault, but like with my parents. So I guess am I a first generation born here? Something like that. Yeah, I would say.
Sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah. So out of my whole family, including cousins and all that, I think I'm the first one that's been to college and graduated. And what we thought, same thing, my parents. My dad is a hard worker, amazing. He's like, and I never appreciated that. And now I'm like, man, I want to be like him. Exactly like him. I think he's the best. He's wise. That's want to be like that. So, but like they were telling me, they always say, go to college. They saved a lot of money. I've been to community college, this and that, good grades, work hard. They said, go to college, get a job. A good paying job, so you don't have to work construction or work as like my mom's a waitress, this and that, so you don't do that. Yeah. But I feel like it's not even like that. Yeah. Like I thought I had this, I don't know if it was like a dream thing. Like I thought, yeah, you get this job or you go to school, you get this job, marriage, and it's all happy. Yeah. But no, I think people forget you gotta still work hard in those bumps. It's always challenging. Yeah. It's always challenging. But I think that's one of those errors that I don't know if it's like families that are from other places, because same thing, I agree. This place, like the US, I think it's amazing. Yeah. They love it too, because, back home it's different. Yeah. But I think the idea is like, oh, if you go, it might be like a money thing. It's thinking, hey, if you have like a lot of money, you'll be happy. But I don't think that is. Same thing. I still have that mentality sometimes. Like, man, if I had more money, if I had this and that, if I won the lottery. But those resources help a lot, as in like when I got here, it was just me and my wife in Victoria. COVID happened. I lost my job over there. That's why I came here. Just me working. Yeah. You struggle a bit. You got these finances, you got a budget. Yeah. And overall now, like after these years, you learn from those hardships. Mm-hmm. But I don't know where I was going with that. But like that's how I see life so far. Right. Yeah.
Well, I think that's very interesting, Jose, because you started this conversation about who you are, the thing about you learn yourself. Then you slowly shifted to it's about your family. It's no longer about you. And I thought that was wow. I think, how you're talking about like you learn how to not be selfish anymore. I don't think that you are ever, but I thought that was very interesting how you started about you, and then it slowly shifted to like your family. I thought that was very, very interesting. I think that's very father character like. And yeah, I admire the fact that you want to be like your dad, because I do want to share something, because when I was growing up, I don't think my dad was cool. I was like, my dad is just another dad. I don't think it was until college that I appreciate how cool and how wonderful my dad is as a person, but as a father. I think sometimes people forget what it's like to be a father. My dad, he was, based on the story I have heard, he was very like gangster growing up. He went to the army when he was 15 years old, so he learned how to combat early on in life. He learned how to, it's a challenge. The story I have heard about my dad, which I could never see. I was like, my dad's not like that. Nowadays, I mean, I was like, wow, the thing that he was willing to do for his family, the thing that he was willing to sacrifice, is something I don't think I will be able to be capable of. And that's why I want to be like my dad too. Like when someday when I am settled down and I have a family, I do want to have the same character like my dad and his love for his family. And I thought that was amazing. Something I didn't really appreciate either growing up until I'm in my 20s. And I was like, oh man, I need to call my dad today, ask him what started. Like if I had some like financial advice, I always call my dad. I was like, hey dad, what you think of this?
It's exactly the same. Because I'm gonna say, ever since I got here, got married, had my family, now I do appreciate my dad. Because and now he's I don't know what it is. I think especially like kids nowadays, or maybe it's just when you're a kid, same thing. I thought my dad wasn't cool. I was like, I don't want, I don't want this. But now, like, especially now he's more open to talking about his childhood. And like, he had like a rough childhood. And I appreciate like all the stuff he gave. So my dad, his dad, my grandpa, and he said that, so they lived in poverty. And he always says, it's poverty, like poverty. It was in Mexico poverty and poverty here. Like there was no lights down over here. And here, it's just poverty. He said people just don't know it. And he said that, he had like, I think his dad was very, like abusive. There was one time, and I'll mention it. He said, I think it was the first time I seen him, like, when my dad told me the story, first time I seen him like get angry at a story. He said that when he was younger, that, I feel like he said when he was just super young. I'm gonna say maybe like Victoria younger. It's him. He has two brothers, and he had like a little sister. His other sister wasn't born yet, but his dad was, I think he came home, and he came home drunk, and then I think they heard him like either yelling or beating his wife or my grandma. And my dad said that they opened the door and they snuck in, or they're just seeing what's happening. I think my grandpa saw them and started cussing in Spanish and this and that. And then he said he won't forget. Like my grandpa broke a bottle, grabbed my grandma, and was saying that I'll kill this, blah 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 blah. But after when he told me that story, he just because we were on our way to on a baseball game, and my sister was in the back. He was telling me the story, and then he was like, he got angry. He was like, God damn it, and he didn't speak for the whole thing. But he had a rough childhood. Because also when my grandpa passed away, let's say like it was 7 years ago from cancer. Because when I met my grandpa when I was 8. Yeah, 8.
That's young.
Yeah, we went over there in Mexico. And he's short. Like he's kind of like, he's shorter than me. I'm gonna say he was like 5'4", something like that. Skinny. And he always nice. Now, he got married with another family, and he had kids that were like my age. And throughout that time, he was great guy. And then later on, when I was older, high school, college, my dad started talking about the stories. I'm like, it's not my grandpa, is it? And then my grandma told me some of the stuff, and I think some of my tios too, or my uncles. And they said like they were always scared of him. He was, angry and drunk and did drugs, this and that. I'm like, really? Because it looked like maybe he might have changed. But then when he had cancer, family comes and this and that. But I remember my dad saying, he was like, he always questioned, like, man, if my dad dies, would he, or he said, like, if my dad dies, would I even care?
Yeah.
And then when my grandpa died, cancer, it was tragic. I cried. It was horrible.
Yeah.
My mom cried too. Best, she said, it was, father-in-law and this and that. And we went, and then I saw my dad when we got the call, my dad was just, no emotion. And then we went to Mexico, no emotion at all. I didn't even see him cry at all. And then we went to it's when we go to the cemetery to bury him and this and that. Everyone's, crying and this and that. And I saw my dad and nothing. It was the same emotion. He said the same thing. He was like, God damn it. He was like angry. He was like real pissed. But I think it must have been like really bad when he was a kid. Because overall, like, I don't know, because my dad was like he's amazing. He's like the best. So I don't know if that childhood that he had made him become a better dad. Yeah. Because I guess he would say he technically didn't have a dad. Yeah. Same thing with my mom. My mom lost her mom when she was like, I think 16 or 17. And it was horrible. A horrible thing that changed everything. And she's the best.
Yeah. So, that's so funny because my parents literally have this, if not similar, experience as your parents. And wow, I'm shocked in many, many ways because my dad, his father was never really present growing up. Went to the army when he was 15 years old. I mean, learned to kill at the 15. They had to. They had to go to the army. And then my parent both passed away before she was 10 years old. So she was also raised by her relatives and some of the best parents I think I have raised by, because from outside perspective, I mean, people would have never know the stuff that they went through. But I'm also like grateful that my dad never repeat essentially the history itself, right? Because my grandpa was alcoholic, similar story, and he's a whole new man. If you met him today, you would have never think that he had that type of history growing up. So in a way, I'm very hopeful that I think our society as a whole, we're moving to like that toxic masculinity environment. I think we're becoming a lot more considerate as a man, but also towards society. In a way, I think it made me really appreciate everything I have now. If it wasn't for those experiences, I don't think I would be grateful for what my parent has done for me. I don't think I will be able to really reflect and understand their experiences. Now, I'm very grateful because if I were to be in their shoes, I would think I would be as good as they are as a parent where they're at, Yeah. So it's interesting how we got to this conversation, but yeah, I mean, I will forever cherish what they have sacrificed, what they have done for me. So I know in a sense, I do want to honor them. And I think that honor them, it's me going to school, getting the educations, and then give back to the community where I came from. So, because in the long run, I do want to be a father. Yeah. I do want to be a dad. I do want to be someone that
it's fun.
It's a gift. It's a gift from God that I'm willing to, I think, what's the word here? That commit and, make a sacrifice for. But yeah, I do aspire to be like my father and, his love for his family.
See, yeah. And then when we talk about, appreciating stuff. I wish I appreciated more when I was younger. Good thing, my dad and my mom are still alive. So same thing, I talk to them almost every day, this and that. Sometimes I talk to them too much, but it's because one day, and my dad told me that, he said one day I'm not going to be here. And, hopefully you learn everything. Yeah. And even sometimes man, I'm for example, I'm 29. I'm like, man, I feel like I don't know everything still. Cause I feel like my dad he knew everything. Yeah. And man, my parents they're great. But sometimes I want to figure this stuff out. And then, and I like how over the years, they're like, hey, you need we can help you out. I'm like, no, I don't need help. I don't need anything.
Yeah.
So I don't ask for anything. And a good thing that's, because like Myra, she grew up a little similar like my dad. So, same thing in poverty. Her dad she mentioned her dad wasn't the greatest. Now he's changed. Same thing. It's funny too, like, because her dad looks very similar to my grandpa, like the side. I don't know what it is, but over there, for some reason, like, if they're very skinny and small, they're very intimidating. I don't know what it is. It's weird because, like, for example, because my dad's I won't say the same size as me, but his brothers are like tall. One's like 5'11", another one's like 6 foot something, and their kids are 6 something. So, but they would tell me too. They said they're intimidated by my grandpa. I'm like, really though?
That tiny guy.
Yeah, but there must be something.
Yeah.
But
oh man, that's interesting. That is interesting. But yeah, I do appreciate you sharing your dad's story and your mom's story as well, because I think in a way that really make us who we are today, and to sit and have this type of conversation. I think if it wasn't for the people that brought us here and raised us, I don't think that this type of conversation would be possible, because it is tough. It is tough to acknowledge sometimes what our parents are going through, because, we don't want it to repeat itself. But at the same time, I think that it's so important that we acknowledge what they have done for us. And I wish that more young people in this country understand that. Yeah, and I think a lot of like my friends that I have kind of grew up with in college and high school, they come from such a good household. They have it all, right? The love, the finances, whatever they want, they got it all. But yet, they never appreciated those things their parents done for them. I always find that interesting. Something that I have trying to communicate with my friend pretty much on a regular. I was like, hey man, whatever chances you get, you gotta thank them. Maybe the people in your life, even, because maybe it's the West culture where we're very individualistic. We forget where we come from. We don't appreciate those things. But I think for people like you and I, when we come from struggles, we tend to appreciate every little thing that we have. Yeah. As simple as waking up in the morning and being able to go to work. Like my mom, she'd love to go to work for some reason. I don't know why, but I think eventually I figured it out, because it was for me and my sister, so that we don't have to worry about our finances when we're in college. But I think that for my friends who grew up in here, they don't take the time to appreciate those things. Yeah. And it breaks my heart a little bit sometimes.
No, but it's very fascinating. One thing, I'll talk a little bit about my mom. So my mom and my dad, they had like these opposites when they grew up. Opposites, and then they came together. So like how my dad grew up poor and this and that. My mom, she grew up, they would say she didn't grow up like rich, but like it was nice, especially down there.
Yeah, like comfortable.
Yeah, like there you go, comfortable. Yeah. Because her dad was, they're really, everyone's into baseball. It's weird. Both families are very into baseball. And they had their own business, and everything was great. Everything was great. So she didn't have to worry too much until like her mom, I think she died of, not cancer, something happened. Yeah. A gallbladder, something happened. But after that, everything just went downhill. Something, I don't know if her dad like just left for a little bit, but then like she was like the youngest out of her siblings. Each of them had their own family, or they had to do this. So she had to like, I guess she said then they went down and now they became poor, because she said like for ironing or like straightening their hair, they had to put like a iron and do that. Aww. And then they had to go wash like old school, just like that. But then when she met my mom, or when she met my dad, they got together, and then same thing. They said they grew up like poor, but like they grew up together, and it was, I guess overall went great. But like my mom, even now, I think overall now they got their house paid and everything's fine. Finances are great so far. But like my mom has that worry about no money at all. Even she said that one time when I was a baby for diapers, they didn't have money for diapers, so they would use the, what do you call them, from the curtains. Oh yeah. And she would wash them. My wife doesn't know that. She thought I grew up amazing, but it was fine.
Yeah.
But she has that. She's scared that there's no money.
Yeah.
But my dad, since he said he grew up poor, he says either way, if we have no money or not,
We'll be fine.
we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
That's interesting. Yeah.
But it's
the mindset. It's the mindset. Is the experience, because my parent does the same. Well, similar. Mm-hmm. To them, they no longer worry about the money, because we done been poor. We done live in a refugee camp. Mm-hmm. So to them, I mean, whatever challenge it come at, then they always know it will be okay. And I don't know. In a sense, I find peace in that. I find like comfort in know that when I go to like hard time in life, I could always call my mom. My mom will always go, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
And like I find comfort in that, because I don't know. I think like I was saying earlier, you know, it's interesting how our experiences shape how we like look at life, how we look at the circumstances. We might go through the same thing in life right now, but where you were raised, it might help you be more equipped, more resilient to kind of tackle the, you know, struggles. Whereas me, maybe I'm not really equipped where I came from. So I thought it was always interesting how our experiences shape how people look at things. And it's funny because I learned those through my parents.
Yeah.
Like I learned it through watching them growing up. I learned it through how they respond to like, you know, hardship, like finances, challenges, why not? So now like I am basically meeting them, live in this world where I'm happy. I was like, hey, it will be okay.
Yeah.
I find comfort in that. I don't know. I find comfort in like knowing that whatever happens, it's not the end of thing.
Yeah, my dad always says, like, if I'm struggling with something, he say, you'll figure it out. It'll be okay. One thing that has changed over these years too, ever since I got here, everything's changed. Yeah. Like materialism. Yeah. You know, when you're younger, especially now Christmas time, you know, as a kid you want all this stuff. I remember I wanted, you know, a lot of stuff. But now, especially having a family, I don't know if it's just changed because I'm older, but I'm like my wife always asks me for my birthday, Christmas, all of that. Same thing, Victoria. They're like, what do you want? And I'm like, nothing. Because like, there's stuff I want, but I don't need it. And I can always get it later on. Like, I don't need it. Like, I'm grateful. Like, we live in an apartment right now. Yeah. It's fine because there's people that are like probably struggling that don't
have the apartment to live in. Yeah.
With food, the same thing. Like, you know, we don't go out to eat. And then if we go out to eat, you know, I cherish it because there's people that can't go out to eat or they don't have food. Yeah. You know, of course there's a lot of stuff I want. Same. I don't know why it's changed, but same thing, like even my dad too, like he said, now that they're more comfortable, he said, man, I don't know how much he makes. He never tells me that. I wish he did, but he says, man, I make so much money. I could buy whatever I want, but I don't want to. Like it doesn't bring him joy or anything. Yeah. He'll buy stuff for Victoria, but that's what he likes. Yeah. But he says, I guess that's when like they say, I guess money doesn't bring happiness. I guess it helps too, but it's not gonna define your life. Because I think about that all the time. Yeah. Like, you know, like for example, I have a truck. I like the truck. Everything's great.
Beautiful Toyota Tacoma. Yeah. Beautiful truck. Yeah. Beautiful truck.
And then like, if I had the brand new edition or new year, would that make me happy? I mean, maybe for the first few days, it's cool, but it's not gonna bring me happiness. What I like is, you know, grateful, like I have Myra, Victoria, whatever happens, hopefully nothing bad happens, but that's what, right. I don't know. It's a weird thing.
No, I love that though. I love that you emphasize on that because it made me think of like what makes us valuable as a person. Is it the money? Is it the material? Is it the status? Because if we take that all away, like who are we? You know, Pastor Jake and Pastor Mason. I learned this from Pastor Jake. We had this sermon. I don't remember the name of the sermon exactly, but ultimately our value as a Christian, it's not in this world, essentially. That's something I try to tell myself every day. Like, if you take away whatever I'm known for, at the end of it, if you strip it all down, what am I exactly, that's something I try to live by every day. Like I'm trying to be more humble of, it's not the thing that I do that make me who I am, but rather the thing that I am will to give to other people. That's why like, I really appreciate you sharing like your role as a father, because I think that ultimately your role as a father is what make you Jose. Like it's not the truck, it's not the podcast, it's not the job, but rather you as a father and you interacting with other people. I think that's what make you valuable, because after all, I mean, if we take all these things away from you, it's still you as a person. Which is why I wanted to pursue my career as a school psychologist.
I feel like I'm in a session. This is the same thing with Dr. Oyen.
Yeah.
I feel like I gave a lot about my childhood.
Dr. Oyen she has been a great mentor. She has been so like a mother figure to me. I do want to give her a flower because when I was applying for graduate school, I was looking at a lot of the programs. None of them take the time to acknowledge like my story and who I am really. I take time to invest to learn more about them, but none of them really take the time to initiate those like conversation. We haven't made it, but like it never was productive. Their conversation was more so, what do you want to know about our program? And then I met Dr. Oyen. I was sitting in my friend her bedroom and then her little table, and then I have a meeting with Dr. Oyen. And then we're on a Zoom. And we're just talking about life experiences. It has nothing related to our career. And then I knew this is where I belong. And I've been praying about it. I've been praying about it. My prayer always go, Lord, you put me wherever I need to be. It's no longer where I want to be, but where I need to be. And it's funny because ever since then, I mean, I have grown a lot as a person, as a young man, have been a lot more considerate of other people. I kind of like you were saying earlier, I have been selfish growing up. I always take pride in what I do, but I feel like since I started this program, I kind of stripped that away, and it's no longer about me. It's about the work that I do for other people that matters. It's like the work that you do as a father that matters, because after all, I mean, what I do, it's the impact that will last a lifetime. We can't change the world. I know I can't change the world, but what I could do is change that child life and, be that person that they need essentially. So that's what really sort of inspired me to be like my parents and to be a future school psychologist, because you get to do so much, not only through the interventions and the services you offer, but you get to be that safe space, and kind of like the safe space that we're having now. I mean, like I could go to all podcasts in the world, but having this type of conversation is going to be a little bit harder because I want to feel necessarily safe. But knowing who you are as a person, knowing how you love other community, and the people that I know, it just become a lot more safer to have those conversations. And I ultimately want that to be the same when I go into this field. But I mean, I'm sure that Dr. Owen kind of tell you about what the school psychologist consists of. It's a little bit different role, but it's a rewarded job that I think that I'm very excited for in relation to like kind of like looking out to my parent, because, and my dad always told me this too. He go, what you're doing in life is essentially a bridge builder. He go, you're helping connect in two worlds. And I help him understand this too. But the thing that he said stuck out to me is that he said, you could open that door when you go to this program, you could open that door for somebody else's. I go explain. He go, they don't have to come into that door, but they know that door is open now. You know that you have done it. You essentially make them feel welcome at this point. And that's always stuck with me. It really motivates me everything I do. Like even at this podcast, like me speaking to you, hopefully that open the door for someone else's to come and share their story so that people can hear about it. They don't have to come with the podcast, but they know that it's possible to come here, to have this, to be vulnerable, to have this conversation, and to share their experiences, right? So, and I love that. I love that analogy of we essentially get to unlock door in life for other people. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Man,
They don't have to come in, but the door is open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think like speaking way in the beginning, if you were doing your like nursing, you think you would have been like a completely different person, maybe?
I will think so too.
Mm-hmm.
I will think so too. I don't know, man. I think God's. I'm a man of faith, Jose. I'm a man of faith. I always believe that God has something bigger than I wanted in life. I mean, my whole identity was to be a nurse when I was in high school. I was set to be a nurse. I got into a nursing program, worked really, really hard for. But I think just God's timing is always perfect. And you're right. I think that I will be a different person. I don't think I will be as, I don't know. I can't tell. That's something that I can't articulate because I wouldn't know who I really am if I were to take that route. You know, it wouldn't open this many doors. It wouldn't open this many opportunities to do things in life. I mean, so you're right. I think that I will be different as a person, as a young man, and probably different attitude. I'm sure I'll be a decent nurse, but I think like finding joy in it would be, because I was trying to tell myself there's a difference between your interest and your passion. Those are not the same thing. Interest and passion are not the same thing. Your interests change every day. I might be interested in eating a chicken tonight. I might be interested in eating a steak. Okay, those are interests. But your passion is maybe cooking. Your passion is cooking. So our passion is, it could be nursing, school psychology. It could be school counselor. But maybe my passion is to help people.
You are right. And that's because when I do these interviews with some of the people, especially it could be like professors or anyone, and ask them what they do, and you can sense that passion, what they like.
The passion.
One thing that my previous boss told me at the med school, because I was thinking out before, because right now I work in administration, but I was working in a lab, and I loved it. It was great, and I was thinking about going to grad school. Yeah. And my professor he says I would be amazing because of this and this and that. But he says one thing that you have to have, or he was talking about research though, for the grad school. He says you have to have passion. Yeah. Because if you don't, man, those like 5, 6, whatever years, and then after that, it's gonna be bad. Yeah. Because I always thought, because before I would think, oh, if I do this, I can land at this job that would pay this much. Yeah. I'm all set. But then what's the point? Yeah. If you hate the job or if it's boring, you're like, man, I do this every day. Yeah.
That's so good though. I think he touched on it too. I mean, how good of to have $1 million right now if you can't share with other people. How good it is to have something. How good to have a talent if it doesn't help other people. That's what I always think too. You know, like how good of you are as a father if the work you do doesn't benefit your family, your child. And that's interesting because you're right. I think there are a lot of people in this world who do their job, quote unquote, for the money. But it was for the money is so that they could provide for their family. That is their passion. Their passion lies on providing for their family, maybe. But I always try to remind myself to, money come and goes. Money come and goes. It will come and goes. But the impact that we do in other people's life lasts a lifetime. I say that because I'm that somebody that has been impacted by the people that helped me in the early days. When I first came to this country, like I said, I was 12 years old. I didn't speak a single language, no vocabulary whatsoever. And I struggled a lot during those times. From 6th grade, 7th and 8th grade, I struggled the most. But yeah, I feel like in every corner, there's always that teacher. There's always that somebody that believed in me. I don't know what it is, man. It's always that one person that believed in me, in addition to my parents.
Mhm.
Like in grad school, like Dr. Owen was that person that believed in me. She always have the confidence in me. Am I like capable of doing everything? No, but she has the confidence that I could do it, and that changed everything. It changed the whole world. I don't know what it is. Like for example, like if Victoria wanted to do certain things, and you had the faith in her to do it, I mean, she will believe that she could do it, and she will be successful in those things. That's why I think it's so important that we as a adult
Mhm.
believe in kids. And we don't see much of them anymore. Like we criticize what kids are doing. Like if kids wanted to be like a photographer, want to go into like, do certain things, like we criticize them. Not but like sort of community, like people, like we criticize them. But maybe what we really do is step back and believe in them. Just say, I have that confidence in you that you could do it. Give that a try, right? If it doesn't work out, here's the other path. We never give them the option. I see that a lot.
Yeah.
I see that a lot in my community. In my community, it's just nursing, it's teacher, police officer, go to med school. Whoa, what about other profession? What about other profession that kids could pursue in that they're passionate about? Maybe this kid's very passionate about doing a podcast. You can't have him go and become a nurse.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. So I always remind myself that I have to be that person that believe in somebody else's. Like I believe in the podcast you're doing. I truly do. And earlier when we were talking, I admire you as a person because I think the work that you're doing, it's beyond yourself. You don't come here and talk about yourself. You take the time to learn about other people's interests, the passion that other people could benefit from. And I think that's what made this podcast, Vermillion Unplugged, so special, because you get to be that person that will open the door. You know what I mean? Like, isn't that cool though?
Inspiring.
Yeah.
I like the words, but man, we gotta end this because I need to go pick up Myra too.
Alrighty.
But yeah, do you want to? Man, I need to get you around too. We need to get you back on.
I would love to come back whenever you want to have.
Is there any last word, shout outs, or anything you want to give out?
Man, praise God that I always want to put the man above before anything. But shout out to Vermillion. Shout out to the Vermillion as a town. The people here has been, phenomenal. I think to our international students, to our students from different backgrounds, I think Vermillion has done a phenomenal job in welcoming the people and making this space accessible for everybody and making it more friendly. Big shout out to Vermillion. Shout out to Parker. He is a realtor here in Vermillion. Shout out to Rusty. He is the PGA head pro at the Bluff. Shout out to my boss. Shout out to Dr. Owen. Shout out to Jake. Shout out to Mason. And big shout out to Jose for having me today because, I think we got to come back to Lar Htoo and maybe, oh gosh, it fly by so fast. I feel like there's a lot more to talk about that we haven't got to. But in the near future, I just hope that people could come on here and share their stories. And I love to hear like a unique perspective of other people that I learned so much from through this podcast. From the space, from army, from pilot to athlete to pastor to university president. These are all cool things that we get to learn about. So thank you for having me, Jose.
Sweet. All right. Thanks, Lar.
All righty.